Thank you for joining us today. Our topic is hunger in our community, and specifically, what can we as community members do to address it? We are here with 3 participants in the 22nd annual and actually 23rd collection for Project Feed the Thousands. Joining us to my left is Chris Thayer from the Vermont Food Bank. Kelly Corbeil of WTSA Radio is the co-chair of Project Feed. And Josh Davis is the director of Groundworks Collaborative, a human service program that works with people most in need in the Brattleboro area. Thank you all for coming today. To begin with, I've been around to see Project Feed when it had its humble beginnings in 1994. And at that time, it was Project Feed the Thousand. Now it's Project Feed the Thousands. From all of your perspectives, could you give me just a thumbnail view of how we're doing out there with respect to meeting people's basic needs? Josh, why don't you start off?
Absolutely. And so Groundworks Collaborative is a relatively new organization, but we're built on the back of 2 long-standing organizations in this community, Morningside Shelter and the Brattleboro Area Drop-In Center. So we provide basic needs with dignity through food, shelter, and supportive services. So trends that we're seeing over the last couple of years is that more people are in need of the services that we provide, whether it's a stay at the homeless shelter. We can only hold so many people a year, but our wait lists continue to remain populated with a number of men, women, children. And also the amount of people that are coming to the drop-in center looking for food at the food shelf. And so on the one hand, I think that we're doing better in terms of service delivery, but on the other hand, I think the demand continues to grow, and hunger being a symptom of poverty. So hunger in itself is an issue, but it's exacerbated by a number of other factors in this community, such as low wages, unemployment, limited access to transportation, etc. And so those factors continue to persist in our community, which in turn leads to more need for the services that we provide.
Now, Josh, I appreciate the perspective. I want to bring Chris in at this point because the Vermont Food Bank has for years operated in the Montpelier area, but now has a satellite program in Brattleboro. Does the description of what Josh is seeing mirror what you're seeing on a more region-wide basis?
Yeah, absolutely. The food bank we've seen the type of stuff that Josh was saying, so we've tried to branch out and do other things to bring the food to the people, which is we do now some direct distribution to the low-income housings and the senior housing, and that's literally we go to the drop and we'll drop some pallets down and serve the people directly to them. To help with the food shelves and everybody else that they're overwhelmed with people. So that's one thing the food bank has worked on for about 2 years now.
And how many different programs do you serve? I believe it's roughly a 3-county area of Vermont?
Yes, yep. The Brattleboro facility serves around 55 to 60 agencies, which is churches and groups like that. And then our direct distribution now that we're doing about 30 different sites. So, with 80 stops that we're doing on a monthly basis.
Now, Kelly, I want to bring you in as well because you, as the owner of a radio station, have extensive contact with the business community. How's the business community doing, and how does that reflect upon the fact that there are more and more people in need of supplemental assistance?
Well, in regards to Project Feed the Thousands, it's a reflection of the business community in a couple different ways. One is, the good news is that the business community that we have always seems to step up to the plate and give. This Project Feed, this whole project, a major portion of it is the businesses in town, and they put out the boxes and they collect food and they do stuff for their employees, and it's really important. On the other side, some of the businesses that used to be in this area that are gone used to be big contributors, and they have left the area. which has decreased the amount of funding that we've received, which means we're now going back to the businesses that used to help and still do and asking for more. So it's going to be a struggle this year. We know we have a big goal. We know the need is bigger than it's probably ever been. And so we're just really asking for everybody to help in any way, shape, or form that they can by, cash or food or a company donation, anything at all.
Any collection has to have a goal. What is this year's and how was it arrived at?
Yep. This year we did a cash goal of $90,000, and we have a food goal of 200,000 meals. The $90,000 is a little less than we've done in the past, but that came to be because we know that we have some donors that are not in existence anymore. So some of our big funders aren't there. So 90,000 is a smaller goal, but it's a bigger goal for us because we're going to need to go to more people to reach it.
So what areas of our community will you be reaching out to be able to attack the need and come up with the amount of food and the amount of money that really is needed to at least start the process of helping people? Because I see that doesn't even make a dent in what happens for a year-round basis.
Well, some of what we do is, for instance, it'll be next week, but we go out and we'll do a business blitz, and we're going to go to all the businesses in town and ask them to donate in some way, shape, or form. But we also really rely on the grocery stores. And what that is we ask all the grocery stores to put out Project Feed the Thousands food bins, and then the hope is when consumers go in, they'll buy an extra can of tuna fish, an extra jar of peanut butter, and throw it in there to help us with the food collection. And a major part of our food drive for the meals part, and the cash too, but more meals than anything, is the schools in the area. And all the kids are huge asset to us for many reasons. They're good at collecting food, but also they're great because they're a big voice and they have empathy and they understand, and their friends are using the food bank, and they go home and they tell their parents and their grandparents, and they come through. It's amazing how much food and they raise. It's astonishing.
As part of that effort, how are we doing at raising the awareness that hunger is indeed a problem in our community, and thus trying to work on finding ways to alleviate it?
Yeah, like I said, I think the children are a big voice for us, and and they spread the word probably better than anyone. And then, speaking of the voice for Project Feed, we also are very lucky because all media, including BCTV right here, but the Reformer, the Commons, obviously WTSA and KVT, YRY, everybody comes together. It's really a community effort because we all know it's important, and everybody tries to get the word out to everyone to say, help in any way you can, because it's needed and it's important.
And this really has become the largest annual appeal within the greater Windham County area.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is it's to be celebrated that this is the 23rd year, because to have anything that's able to sustain itself over a number of years and still be able to raise the amount of money and food that Project Feed the Thousands has been able to raise is something to be celebrated. On the other hand, the fact that we're having to set higher and higher goals every year and look for more people to participate in a basic need food drive is telling of your initial question about how are we doing in terms of serving the need. And so in the short term, we're trying to shore up the emergency food system as best we can and get people access to food so that they can supplement things like food stamps and that. And then long term, I don't think we're making much progress on some of the other factors that lead to hunger.
So let's cut to the chase here. What kinds of food are you looking for? What would do the most good for a family or an elderly person or a child in need?
Go ahead.
So high protein, shelf stable are things that we ask for. So peanut butter, tuna fish are great items to pick up. We also at the the food shelf, we ask for things that you might not normally think of, like diapers, to help folks stretch their food budget as well. Fruit juices, that kind of thing. So,
Well, you know, it's interesting. You mentioned diapers. Vermont's Three Squares program, which is what everybody used to call food stamps.
Yep.
There are a lot of things you can't buy with that, including diapers. And so there are some people with just no other way to get some of these things except by the goodness of people in the area.
absolutely. And bearing in mind that, you know, Three Squares or food stamps as we know it is meant to be a supplemental program, but so many people that use our services use that as the primary source to pay for food because their budgets are stretched in so many other ways, paying heating costs, paying gas so that they can get around. We live in a relatively rural area, and so it costs a lot of money, and we have to rely on cars to get around. And so really trying to stretch Three Squares, which is where the food shelf at, you know, the drop-in center comes in, to really help folks find that supplemental food to get them through a month.
And one ally that's been great in recent years has been C&S Wholesale Grocers. We're very pleased to, in Brattleboro, have a fairly large distribution warehouse. And there's a unique relationship between C&S and the food bank, is there not?
Absolutely, yes. They are one of our biggest contributors, donors, absolutely.
So it's almost like they back up a truck and they load the truck, back it up, and you store it.
Yep, we unload it, we receive it in, and we get it out to the people. That's what we do. So.
And another thing that probably a lot of people don't realize is CNS does a lot of our printing. So we print, I don't know, I think maybe this year we had 50,000 flyers, and so CNS pays for all that. And so not only do they donate food, but they do other things such as printing and supplies for us too. And a good notation to make is every dollar that we raise with Project Feed the Thousands, we use for Project Feed the Thousands to go to the different food shelves. So we don't use any of the funds to buy brochures or products or do advertising or do anything. So people can really feel confident when you give money to Project Feed, it doesn't go to administrative, it doesn't go to anything except directly to the food shelves for the purpose of feeding hungry people.
That's a big question that a lot of people really have to ask nowadays because they want to know that the money is going to help people and not going to administration or going to some other unintended purpose.
Right, and Jeff Morris from River Valley Credit Union and I both chair Project Feed Now, and we're proud of that. We're adamant about it, we're proud of it, and we make sure that everything gets covered some other way and not by the funds that people donate.
Now, I know that Groundworks Collaborative is just one of the several food shelves that are supported by this program. What other areas are we reaching?
Yep, I can give you some examples. We have out in Townsend, they have a big food drive going on right now for their area. Over in Hinsdale, we do a big event at Walmart, and the Hinsdale Fire Department does a big boot drive for the Hinsdale food shelf. Putney is part of this, Bellows Falls is part of this, Guilford's part of this. I'm sorry, I probably might be leaving somebody out.
Deerfield Valley food shelf as well.
Yeah, Deerfield Valley. So there's quite a few, and we do anything we can to help any of those food shelves. So we put out bins, we put out cash boxes, we try to support their schools, anything they need. Another note is we do a lot in Brattleboro because that's where a lot of the businesses are. And so a lot of the food that we collect, people would assume all goes to Groundworks, but a lot of it actually goes to the food bank, and the food bank redistributes it out to many food shelves. So it's not only just Brattleboro, and you might be better off to talk about that, but same with CNS, when they make a donation, even though it comes here to Brattleboro, it's not always staying here in Brattleboro.
Right. Yeah, that we go as far as Manchester, Rutland area, and down. So that's as far as our building goes. So it's reaching out to the whole southern area of Vermont.
And that would make sense because while Brattleboro itself has a roughly 12,000 population, the business community is at least 3 times that size during the day. So people who might use their home community as a bedroom community do really rely a lot on Brattleboro to help out.
Mm-hmm.
So, give me the profile of the average donator, and I'll share a story with you that I saw in this year's kickoff. From each of your perspectives, who are you shooting for to make a contribution?
Who are we shooting for? Just, from the community, the entire community, as many people as we can reach. We have folks that, this time of year, especially as we're getting toward the holidays, you're thinking about family, you're thinking about community and loved ones and being a part of Brattleboro and Southern Vermont for that matter. And so folks really come out, and whether it's the elderly community, and we have a day at the food shelves that we serve specifically senior citizens. We have a number of people that want to make a contribution that way, or school kids who want to get involved and actually get it on this level that seemingly others of us don't, and are really passionate advocates.
Kelly?
I would say probably the biggest cash donations are probably around $10, believe it or not. So if you think about raising a goal of $90,000, I would say probably the majority of ours are between $10 and $25. So again goes to say every little bit matters. I mean, we get $5 donations, we get dollar donations. Obviously, we get change donations. But every little bit matters. I mean, if everyone could even just donate $1, it helps. So yeah, it's a wide range, but the majority are small amounts.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, as a whole, as a community, reaching out with just $1 donation, a $5 donation, that's huge. We can come here and say we need CNS, which we do, and we need all this, but where it's all coming from, where we're going to get the most from, is just the dollar donations from individual people that want to help. So,
well, I want to share 3 stories with you all that come from being involved with Project Feed over the years. And I may start crying, but that's how much it means. Firstly, a gentleman stopped by at this year's kickoff. A gentleman who served his country, has had some rough times, and is now working in a human service position. He probably doesn't have enough to rub 2 dimes together, but he found a way to get a $10 bill out of his pocket and put it in the collection tin. All right? Secondly, I was loading groceries from Price Chopper a few years ago, way back when, in my old TSA van, and I was kind of struggling with it, and I must admit I was on the verge of grumbling. An obviously pregnant young lady with 2 kids in tow said, "Look, I'm kind of tight for cash right now, and I really can't make a donation, but I can see you're struggling with all this, and I can help." And that's the kind of thing that really means a lot. Or the days when working in radio all the years I have, you put out a call on the air, you say that, well, the center's out of turkeys. All of a sudden, turkeys magically appear. I bet you didn't know that, in contrary to the WKRP in Cincinnati TV episode, turkeys can fly, because they flew off the shelves and into people's homes where they could do the most. So, in that perspective, how can we make sure that people know this really is a big part of keeping this community the kind of community that we all want to live in and raise families in?
Well, I just feel like some of the stories you just said, we see it all the time, especially this time of year. Like it's just amazing, the people that come out and the people that thank us for doing it, because when they see us at an event and we're doing it, that because they're a benefactor, and it's shocking because probably people may have heard this before, but it's really shocking because sometimes you see people and you think, you got to be kidding me, they don't appear or look at all like they should be hungry, but they are. And like I think some of us have said, it's because sometimes you have to choose for what you're paying for, and maybe it's your heat or whatever, so you just don't have enough money for food. But you keep yourself clean and you look good or whatever, so people don't realize. But the amount of people that go through that food shelf in Brattleboro is amazing. And it makes me feel good to know that, that Jeff and I head up this Project Feed, because it really does matter and it really does help people, and people are so grateful that we do it. And just in years past, the Melindas and the Lucys and the Joshes of the world are grateful because that food shelf wouldn't survive itself, I think, without Project Feed. We're a big funder and a big food supplier to help the people in this area, and we're very proud of it. And that's us leading the charge, but it's all the people in the community that give to that charge that makes that happen.
Now, is that equal to what both Chris, you and Josh see on a daily basis? Just some of the people who walk in and say, well, here's a couple of bucks, or here I can help.
Absolutely. And what you're talking about, everybody making a contribution, no matter, you do it, people making contributions like they can. And so some people can only give $1 or can only give $10 or can only help you carry groceries. But that's how we're dealing with this rising need, is every little bit. And so, as an agency, we have a formidable budget that we have to raise every year. And somehow we do it with $5, $10, $25 donations. And so absolutely, that's what we see. And also people who receive from the food shelf, who also volunteer at the food shelf. Same for the shelter. People that stay at the shelter are now coming back and volunteering at the shelter. So people giving back in whatever way they can to help somebody else is definitely a big part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think these two kind of said it all. I mean, that's what I see out there, and I don't have much more to say other than what they said.
And then the story of the elderly lady who walks to our donation bucket in a house coat and says, I won $100 on a scratch ticket last night. I'm only going to blow it, but I know people need it more than I do. As you can tell, this kind of gets to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how can people make a contribution? Just where can they make donations in our greater Windham County area?
Yep. So pretty much any grocery store anywhere is where you can easily make a food donation. Also, most any school, you can send with your children, your grandchildren, a canned good, a donation that way. Cash donations can be sent to River Valley Credit Union, and when you make a cash donation, just make sure it's labeled Project Feed the Thousands, or volunteer to help. That's another way that we would be grateful. We have so many different events and things that are going on all the time, and if you want to be a volunteer, we certainly can always use the help.
Definitely, and the one thing I would say is that a lot of things have gone on in our community in recent years, and what we have to do is remember that the glass is definitely half full and not empty. And it's up to everybody to help fill it, maybe a teaspoon at a time, but the bucket of water can be filled, especially because we know what's at stake, the dignity of our elderly, making sure families get a good start, and making sure especially that children have what they need to be able to go to school and learn and get ready to be the next generation. So all of you are to be really applauded for your efforts. And 20 years from now, will we still be sitting here?
I hope not, but
Well, if we have to, we will.
well, we will. That's the truth. I hope not, though.
Yeah, so again, please make a donation to Project Feed the Thousands. Either drop off cash at River Valley Credit Union or shop where you drop. And certainly a couple of ways you can make a donation. If you're having a birthday party or a Christmas party, in lieu of gifts, maybe accept donations of canned goods or things for Project Feed. Because there's a mutual friend of ours who had a 60th birthday a few years ago and said, I have everything I need, so perhaps maybe you could drop off a few of those things. Or if you're having a company or other Christmas party, invite people to bring canned goods or cash donations to that. Because really, this is what it's all about at this time of year, and let's hope that we can continue on with that throughout the entire 12 months. Really appreciate the fact that all of you are involved. Our guests today have been Chris Thayer from the Vermont Food Bank, Project Feed the Thousands co-chair Kelly Corbeil, and Josh Davis from Groundworks Collaboratives. This is Tim Johnson. Yeah, I'm getting a little blubbery, but that's how important it is. Dig down, find it in your heart, find it in your wallet, make a contribution. The annual project's Feed the Thousands food drive. Thanks for watching.